Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, and Thor. Come on, Thor. Up. Good boy. Thor is 6-month-old Shepherd Husky mix. Somewhere in there. DNA would tell us, of course, but one of those Nordic breed, Husky, or Malamute, something. No, I don't think Malamute. His eyes aren't that color. Thor, good boy, sit. Good. So what we're doing with Thor right now is he's got a pretty nice little heel going. I really don't accent that with my pet quality dogs as much. I like to accent it just enough that the customer can get the look and that they can feel proud about their dog, you know. But you're not going to go 20 minutes down the field with a dog like this. It's a lot of work, and it's really a lifestyle for when you get into that focused heel that they do in Schutzen. It's not something that's as functional, right? So when you get to a dog like this, you're thinking more about functionality, right? Having the first request for the customer is not having this dog jump on them. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about, functionality in the training. Good boy, Thor. Good boy, good. We got a pretty nice, come on, Thor, good. Pretty nice little heel. He understands it. Good. Thor, down. Yes, good boy, good. But the main things like jumping on you, good. Having a pretty solid downstay so he understands that we're just starting into our around the corner work. Let's go to the table for that. Thor, yep, good boy, good. But the main thing on this first phase of training is always your communication baseboard of no, good, and yes, right? Most important thing, because from there you can teach the dog anything. And if I can get the customers to learn and grow with their animal and understanding how we've conditioned the dog with no, good, and yes, and that communication baseboard, they can start training the dog to do all kinds of things on their own, and they understand the conditioning and how we've set that up. Nothing more than a communication baseboard. Every trainer is going to be a little different. They're going to accent different things and everything, but they all should have some kind of communication baseboard that's going to be to build on, right? That's what's important. Mine may be different than the guy down the street, but criteria is also important as far as you paying money for it, right? Criteria in the obedience and what you expect. And most people, the problem is they have no idea what that criteria may be. And every trainer is going to be a little different. So this is why we start looking at the industry as a whole and saying, you know, there was a guy that just posted, a really well-known trainer, just posted about somebody buying a, quote, air quotes, service dog from some service dog company in Florida. And I think the dog was a 6-month-old dog. Malinois mix, ended up having almost no training at all and being just a maniac. And you're talking service dogs. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because I got a little bit upset about it, and I always do. There's certain very opinionated things that I have that have been built up over years of doing this that I tried to denote in my videos, right? Criteria, the PUFTA trainers, you hear me talking about the kids coming in all the time, hanging up on a shingle, and what I think they should do towards reaching towards their career endeavors. And that basically really easy to give you. Go to a certified school that's very well respected, Michael Ellis, Tom Rose, something like that. And then get out of that school after a month or so, however long that school is, you get your certification. Do not hang a shingle up. Go work for somebody, an apprentice under somebody that's respected in the industry, and work for a couple years. Pay your dues. That's why we used to do it back in the day, right? Nowadays, this instant gratification and so much of the internet causes these kids to not want to do that. So there's one of my pet peeves and things that I go after that I'm very opinionated about, right? The other one is the social media in general, and how many people are out there promoting themselves online that aren't really professional trainers, but they can do a lot with the social media, the digital magic, right? And they can make themselves more than they really are. And so there's a lot of pet peeves. So the other one is, and it's a big pet peeve of mine, it's another one of my main pillars of pet peeves, let's call it, is service dog orientation. And you'll see, if you watch the internet and you start watching what happens, I've been flooded with it. And I do end up getting flooded with it, where I'll start to all of a sudden, they'll pick up on my interest in dogs and stuff. They'll start flooding me with a certain type of advertisement. One of those is these service dog companies that are doing this online certification. And it irritates the hell out of me, because there's another area that's a very specialized area. What is a service dog? You've got PSD dogs that are basically emotional support dogs. That dog's different. He doesn't really do anything except be there for his owner, picks up on his owner's moods and gives the owner what they need in that respect. And it may be a little bit more involved. Some dogs are more intuitive than others, but reality and truth is just having an animal there for that person that's going through some of these emotional traumas they may have suffered in wartime and things like that, though it's very valid, don't get me wrong, is a lot less entailed than a true service dog. Okay, it all started with seeing eye dogs, right, back in the 70s, right? It was San Rafael seeing eye dogs in the Bay Area. It's one of the ones that started it all, and they were the ones that broke through that glass ceiling and got their dogs to be able to go on buses into restaurants. Before that, they were not allowed in any of those areas. It just so happens that my boss, when I worked in Oakland, across the bay there, his whole start in his career was seeing eye dogs, San Rafael seeing eye dogs. And so we went over and we got to do tours, we got to see the facility, and got to really into the subject of that whole organization and what they did to set up their training curriculum and their whole procedure and what they did and what they created in that. One of those things was a very well put together breeding program where they were actually doing it. They were the ones that started the first foster programs where the dogs went home with the people. And that programs is being done in all kinds of areas, offshoots of it all over the place because it works. You know, you let the dog go home, let him mature, let him go with the family. And it was done through the 4-H, I do believe, with the kids program with them. And they do a great job with that even to this day, right? So then the dog's allowed to mature in the proper environment, and the dogs are basically guided through the program and how those people develop that puppy. Nope, I know, I got you like that food, huh? You like that food. So that being the case, yay, good boy, good. This was one of the first ones for service dog orientated attitude. It was seeing eye dogs. And then service dogs took off when they started to be able to handle deaf people that can't hear the phone ring. They can't know when somebody's knocking on the door. So then they started teaching dogs to do other behaviors that were very helpful to people that had other ailments, right? Other situations. But a service dog, the criteria of it is very, very fine-tuned. Okay, and one of the biggest criteria, and this came over from the seeing eye dog whole culture, right, was that a dog that's in these areas that has to be wanting to go on the bus, go into the restaurants, do that, has to be non-obtrusive. His temperament has to be totally stable. He can't be a dog that's reactive. They get them to train to go up underneath the tables, underneath a bench when they're sitting on the bus. They even went to the point where they wanted dogs that were to the point where their pain threshold was very high, and you could step on the tail, and the dog would not have a reactive what they call illicit reaction. Okay, so in other words, step on the tail, the dog wants to bite, right? They wanted dogs that even had that toned down genetically, right? And that was one of their criteria. If the dog got his tail stepped on and it wanted to bite and had a very high threshold in that regards, that dog would be washed out, right? So that was part of the breeding program and what their criteria was. So that has kind of went over into the industry of service dogs, that the dogs should be, and the customers are trained to be this way. That in other words, when they have a dog, it's a privilege to have their dog out in public. And how do you keep that privilege? You end up having a dog that's non-obtrusive, that fits into the environment to a point that people don't even know the dog is there. That's the big thing that's being broken by all these wannabe service dog people that think they know what they're doing. And they take these dogs and they put them out on the market, and the criteria is not that high. They do have testing organizations now that are doing a really good test for it, and then they get that certification. These are the things that are kind of cream rising to the top that are starting to filter out all the bootleg dogs that are going on planes and put on a harness, put a service dog patch on it. Oh, I've got a service dog. Bullshit. Right? So that criteria is a little higher in some respects, but the general public doesn't understand the criteria. So now they're going out and somebody says, yeah, I've got a service dog, no problem, boom. And then they're getting bamboozled, and it only does a negative connotation to the whole industry. It hurts all of us, right? So these people need to be run out of the business as far as I'm concerned. Criteria get raised, and then education to the public to get them to understand what is a true service dog, what is his demeanor supposed to be, temperament, what is he supposed to fulfill in society. Well, the biggest thing is solid temperament. To be able to have a dog I can take any place with me, friendly and fine, and then again is trained to be non-obtrusive, go up underneath the tables, go up underneath the bench, is very even keel with its temperament, right? And then you train that dog with the proper temperament to be able to do things for that owner. And those things can be very customized because every owner is going to be a little bit different. Maybe I'm weak on my right side, so I need to have a dog with a harness where I can get the dog to learn to stand and to be a good brace for me as I get up. There's 1,001 things that dog may have to do. He may have to be comfortable with wheelchairs and with walkers, and that's why I say that really true service dog companies really work hard to meet that criteria and to fulfill the aspects of what that means in our society. Those that are not doing that are not fulfilling that criteria, are bootleg and they're bullshit, and it's a negative on our whole industry. So if you're in the market for a good service dog, really do your R&D and find a company that is very respected and has this high criteria in what they turn out. Look at the dogs they've turned out. See what those dogs are doing in society and see their criteria and realize, judge that sale. In other words, go buy a dog from somebody that says, we do this to this standard, right? If not, don't buy a dog from them. Right? There's too many of them out there. They end up getting around the loopholes and they do a disservice to everything that we should stand for as professional trainers, right? I've been training dogs since I was 12. I could very well probably train a very good service dog because I understand it, right? But I don't jump into that hoop because it's a very specialized area that it would much better serve with somebody that's all they do and they specialize in that. That's what they turn out. A lot of them will get grants from the government, the whole 9 yards, but they've got to meet a very high criteria, right? So do a little bit more R&D when you go out looking for a service dog, and don't just because somebody says, yeah, we got a service dog. And that's, again, lack of knowledge and understanding from the general public. It's our job as professionals to try to teach and to educate the general public and what we put out and what is that criteria and what's that dog supposed to do for you, right? And I would probably love to have some good, I'll do some R&D, maybe I'll bring it up in another video and we'll put some links down below of 2 or 3 really viable service dog organizations, right? Important because they're going to fulfill a purpose for somebody that really is in need of that dog, right? And not everybody can go in where those core organizations can go in and apply for a dog like that and get one, because then it's the company to assess, does that person really need a service dog? Because they're limited. When they can only put out so many a year. When they specialize to that high degree, that means their volume goes down because they got to stay on it, right? It's an interesting thing, but it's something that I admire and respect, and it's not something that I specialize in. So I would never say that I'm a service dog trainer, even though I do know that I can turn that product out. It doesn't matter. It's better served by somebody that's all they specialize in, right? All right, Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, yakking at the screen as usual. with Thor. Yeah, he's doing pretty good. I didn't show off as much as I could, but got into yakking as usual. Have a good day, guys. Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, signing off. Bye-bye.